I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comments? Okay. We'll go ahead and get started with our committee discussion item. I know Mr. Limmer has spent a lot of time with his staff pulling together information in order for us to go over this within great detail. I do want to add that there's a significant amount of work that was done prior to this committee being formed, and we'll talk about those as well. At this time, we'll start with our presentation, Safety and Security by Colin McCoy.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Colin Malloy. I'm the Director of Safety and Security with HART, and I'm here to provide a safety and security update. The key things that we're going to talk about during this presentation is, one, to give this committee a refresher kind of on the last board presentation in terms of HART's standard operating environment. Also to touch base with what the current Florida deterrents are. Really importantly, what our recent activities have been, some proposed legislation, and most importantly, next steps, and then any questions that you may have. As you recall, at the full board meeting prior, we had given a safety and security update, and I just wanted to do a real quick refresher on some of the things that are currently within HART's standard operating environment. This is what we do day in and day out. One of the first things is our Operations Control Center. That control center is in 24/7 contact with all of our bus operators throughout the entire day. That's where they're able to communicate via the emergency panic buttons, the PRTs, the RTTs. All that information is housed within our Emergency Control Center, along with our road supervisors and our entire operation and security team that support our bus operators and our employees that are out on the road. We also have existing partnerships with law enforcement, both Tampa PD and Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, as well as all of our buses are equipped with high definition security awareness cameras that now have audio. We increased that from 5 to 11. We also put in security awareness monitors, and we equipped our paratransit fleet as well with security cameras. And not just from the engineering and partnership side, HART also provides training to all of our bus operators on a quarterly basis. So those safety and security trainings include de-escalation, defensive driving, customer service, ADA, topics that come up. We put over 10 hours every year that each bus operator gets, and we do that through a quarterly training session. So one of the reasons we put this slide in here was that some of the previous meetings, there's been some question on current Florida deterrents and what the law is, so we wanted to actually reference the exact Florida statute, and that is Florida Statute 784.07. And the statute is actually the exact same statute that deals with assault and battery on law enforcement, firefighters, emergency medical personnel, as well as public transit. And one of the key things that it does is when there's a public servant, it increases the penalty. So if a bus operator is threatened or a police officer is threatened, it increases it from a misdemeanor of a second degree to a first degree. And then if there would be a battery, which would be some sort of physical touch, altercation, or physical conflict with the bus operator, it increases that actually from a misdemeanor to a felony of a third degree. And then obviously an aggravated assault is also increased under this statute. And that would be if there is a threat with some sort of deadly weapon, it would increase it from a felony to a second degree. And that was introduced in 1995. So that is the legislation that's currently in place in the state of Florida. And Florida is one of the more progressive states when it comes to actually having some of this language. But the language has been out for quite a while. But let's move into really what we've done since the last board meeting, and what we really wanted to brief this committee on is what are the actions that HART has done. And one of the first things that we did is we had a critical incident debrief at the University of South Florida Center for Urban Transportation Research. We invited the union, we invited law enforcement, we invited Department of Homeland Security, we even had members of the Florida Department of Transportation And we really looked at this incident that occurred of, what did we do well, what did we not do well, any areas of improvement, and we did that in collaboration with the union and with all of our stakeholders to make sure that, was there something we could have done better, were there lessons learned so that we don't have any type of event like this moving forward. And we coordinated again with the union really on next steps. How do we work together as a team on this issue? Because employee safety is paramount. Our customer security is paramount to everything that we do here at HART. Then we did a series of stand-down meetings with security, with maintenance and operations staff. So the picture here shows, briefings that we did with all of our staff. This is an example of the maintenance, but we briefed all of our staff just on some of the basic security protocols, kind of getting their feedback as well of, what are things we're doing well, what are some things we need to improve on, giving them an opportunity to have an open forum discussion with our staff and about safety and security items. But we didn't stop there. We continued with, I talked about the partnerships that we had with law enforcement, but over our recent activities, we've actually been enhancing the partnership with both law enforcement as well as our contracted security. So again, we mentioned in the previous board meeting, but we've updated our security from level 1 unarmed to level 5 armed security. And we've also worked with Tampa PD, and on my next slide I'll talk about some specific things with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, but that partnership and those arrangements and agreements that we have with law enforcement, we've really revised those, and we're in discussions of doing additional enhancements to the type of coordination that we do. And this is an example of some of the coordination. We actually worked hand in hand with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office on developing a curriculum on de-escalation and critical situational awareness. So the pictures here, our very first class was actually kicked off and trained by, that's the sheriff there. Sheriff was at our very first training session. All of our bus operators are going through this specially designed curriculum that's actually taught by sheriff deputies. So that's over 380 of our employees and our paratransit and streetcar operators that are going through this custom curriculum that we've kicked off, and we are going throughout the entire summer with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So that was done in direct partnership, and we are very proud to have the sheriff there for our very first training session. Again, to the wishes of this board, we've also been working on our independent security assessment so that we're able to come back to you guys and say, you get an independent third-party review of our current operating environment. The board made that action in June. The pictures here kind of show some of we've actually did interviews and bus operator surveys as part of this assessment. Also looking at what our technology is, our infrastructure, what our procedures are, what our protocols, and we've got a draft report of that. And then the key preliminary findings will be going over that draft and kind of presenting in September. But we wanted to update this committee on where we are in terms of the board action that came through. We've conducted that assessment, we've got the draft report, and now we're reviewing it and we'll be providing additional updates to you as well. The bus barriers. We wanted to make sure we were also updating this committee of the bus barrier procurement is completed. We are on track. That's that $1.2 million board action item that also occurred, and we're working with the vendor to install those as quickly as we can. We've been fast tracking that and working with AeroGuard on that, and installation hopefully of the fleet by the end of the year. But again, we'll keep this board updated and keep the committee updated, but we want to let you know that the procurement is complete and we are moving forward in terms of the bus barrier partitions. The HART Safety and Security Symposium. So again, we're trying to update the committee on the number of activities that we've really been doing since June. And one of the key things is we brought professionals from across the state and the nation for the first ever HART Safety and Security Symposium. And this really looked at best practices throughout the country. We had over 125 attendees from all across Florida. The response that we had on this symposium was overwhelming, to say the least. We actually had requests from agencies from Louisiana and Texas for us to live stream the event to gather some of this information that HART was showing real leadership on. And some of the key takeaways we found is that that labor management committee, those labor management partnerships really have worked well in organizations that have moved forward on this, but a number of best practices were shown. We're going to be taking that information and putting it as part of our overall program. The Ride with Respect campaign. is another recent activity. Our marketing communications department has done an outstanding job. We've been working again with the union in terms of rolling out a series of videos. We kicked off the Ride with Respect campaign, and over the next couple months, we'll be coming up with phase 2 as well. Also, so those are the recent activities. So we've been pretty busy through June to today. We also wanted to let this committee know about some of the proposed legislation that's out there. So there is a bill, the Transit Workforce and Pedestrian Act, that's currently moving through there's a House version and the Senate version of it. It looks at both what type of infrastructure is in place, specifically the bus partitions, also mandatory kind of de-escalation training, which HART's already doing, but some modified bus specifications, as well as driver assistance technology. It will also allow transit agencies to report all type of assaults to the National Transit Database, and this is legislation that is supported by the ATU, our current union here. So all that's great, but now, what are our next steps? So we wanted to update the committee here on what our next steps is. We're going to finalize the independent security assessment report and prioritize those findings that we get from the report based on risk and probability for implementation. So some of the initial findings they talked about were in our Operation Control Center is maybe updating some of our equipment, modernizing some of the Operation Control Center. So we're going to prioritize those based on risk and probability and put forth those recommendations to both this committee and to the board as a whole. Continue with the Ride with Respect campaign. Continue with those enhanced partnerships with law enforcement. A big thing that we've been talking about is really that labor management, is coordinating with the union, having monthly meetings. We have our safety and security meetings, but we're really enhancing those in terms of getting union feedback, as well as the larger labor management committee. But monthly, we're talking with operators, we're talking with our employees out there to make sure that we're getting their feedback and how we can move forward together as one HART, as well as reporting quarterly to this committee. So we will be providing more detailed trend analysis, updates, more information to this committee so we can keep you abreast of all safety and security items, because at the end of the day, as our CEO has said in our entire organization, safety and security is paramount for our employees as well as our customers. And we're going to live to that commitment and deliver on those promises that we've made. With that, I move kind of quickly, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to address any questions you may have.
No questions.
Thank
you. I failed to go through our committee discussion items, and I believe that's important for us to talk about how we will meet and roles and responsibilities. But Colin, thank you so much for stepping up quickly to give us an update on all of the efforts that have been taken from June and going forward. It really showcases the effect and impact that you're making on the HART as a whole, and then what we see out in the community. So thank you so much for that. So I'll hand this over to Mr. Limmer. Are you going to go over the committee discussion item, and then we'll come back to the next presentation?
Certainly, I can provide an overview. This is item 3A. As you all know, during the June 3rd, 2019 board meeting, the chair formed a new committee of the board surrounding operations and safety. Today's meeting is, of course, the first meeting. The chair appointed 5 total members and asked the board subcommittee to meet monthly. So we will be working on integrating this new committee into our overall schedule for you all to meet. The role of the Operations and Safety Committee is really to review and make recommendations to the full board on policies related to the safe, efficient, and reliable operation of HART. This committee will also provide oversight and strategic policy direction on safety, security, and emergency management going forward. a few particular subject areas that this committee will cover. It's really monitoring key performance indicators for service and operations. Those will, of course, include ridership levels, customer service and satisfaction levels, employee safety and security standards, practices, and procedures, as well as facility and vehicle maintenance. And that includes the purchase and acquisition of new bus vehicles as well as streetcars going forward. This committee will also ensure compliance with all Title VI and ADA requirements, review and make recommendations to the full board on particular route and service modifications, as well as standards and overall productivity. Then, of course, last but not least, as I mentioned, advise the board members on the overall safety management system and security as well. As I mentioned, 5 members, and we will meet monthly. That concludes my summary.
Thank you.
Quick question. All points that this committee is responsible for, can you email that to us, just that little bulleted list?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Actually, I had a question about the safety update.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us a little more how the operations center works? I'm trying to picture it, and like how many people are manning microphones? How many buses is one operator, one dispatcher responsible for? Give us a feel for how that all works.
Our Chief Operating Officer for HART. The control center is manned somewhere between 7 and 8 staff. There are a number of different duties that each of the controllers manages. There are radio systems for van, streetcar, and bus. And so there's several different activities that are happening there. Those that are handling specific calls coming in, and then we have a separate radio that's managing outbound discussion with operators and supervisors. You also have somebody receiving the operators at the window for bus, van, one person for each mode, bus, van, or streetcar. And so it's a very busy control center, but it is within the industry standard of how other agencies work in terms of handling the operators out there. In general, on a regular weekday, you have approximately 133 bus operators on at pullout time, and approximately 55 to 60 van, and of course 4 streetcar. So that's about what the activity looks like in the control center.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I have a specific question regarding the, I believe there were the panic buttons. I believe at the June meeting, there was a question, there was an issue raised where some of them didn't work, and we had an audit done right afterwards. What is the frequency with which those are being checked, or have we established that?
Good morning. As a result of that board meeting discussion, we did do an immediate test of all of the vehicles, bus and paratransit, and we did find a few had an issue. Those were resolved within that day. They are now tested daily. The operators have a screen on their mobile data terminal as they start up the vehicle, and it goes through an analysis of all of the features of that radio system / alarm. And if there's something that comes up on the screen, they report it back to OCC and the vehicle is swapped out. So it's a daily check now.
Okay. Then how were they bad before?
I'm sorry, they were always done that way. Operators were maybe not aware that that screen was something that they should have reported. Yeah. So now, because of the testing that we did, we were able to show the operators and provide them with what that screenshot looks like when there is an error, when it's loading the system up.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. We will move to presentation 4B, Voice of the Customer, Greg Bracken.
Board Manager, my committee members. This is just an update of our latest round of our customer satisfaction survey for you. We did the survey and we do them partially in spring and fall of each year to keep consistency out there. Our last one was done in May. We have been doing this since 2015 on the fixture outside. We added the HART Plus system to that survey in 2018, and we plan on adding the streetcar in FY 2020 as well. This round of surveys, we did 515 surveys on the fixed route survey. It took about 7 days for the surveyors to canvass the entire system. We do hit all the different areas of town, different routes, expresses, everything is included in this survey. The paratransit side of the house is done a little differently. We have switched over to a phone interview with those because they are so time-sensitive trips that are being taken. There's not that much time to do those surveys, so we're actually calling the customers and going through the survey instrument on the phone with them. And as you see, there is a few that have caretakers that responded for the client, so we included those in there as well. Profile of the fixed route customers, just a quick and dirty there. This survey at 52% of them were males, 46% females, 65% were under $25,000 in income, but our overall income, 86% are under $50,000 total income for their household. 81% of the surveyed were Caucasian and African American in this number. Work trips continue to be the #1 driver for our service use, followed closely, not closely, but followed by shopping and errands and groceries. The purpose of their using our service continues to be, 96% are totally transit dependent on us, so it is very important for us to be there. But they also have other reasons, and we've listed some of them here, that they do use transit. They want to save money, be economic for us, better for the environment, and those type of things. Fixed route side has made some improvements since our last survey round in many of our fields. We did add a new question this time. The very first one there, the HART system providing value to the community. 92% of our customers in survey believe that we do add value to our community, and that's a very, for a first-time question out there, I think it's a very positive, response from our customers. Bus drivers operating the bus safely, 88%. We also included the ISA there, which is the industry sampled average next to it to show you where we compare to the others in our industry. So as you can see, we're 6.6% above what the average industry is. Ease of gathering information about HART routes and services, we're at 87%, where in industry is 80%. The price of fares being reasonable, 86%, industry standard 72%. And then feeling safe with riding the bus, 85% compared to 79% for the industry standard. So we continue to exceed some of those standards out there. On the other side, things that we need to work on, items that the customers have identified. Customers' cleanliness of the bus shelters, 57%, and the industry standard is about 49% on there. So it's one of our lower rating categories, but we're still above the industry standard. But we're definitely trying to improve that, and we do have a plan working on fixing the bus amenities out there. On-time performance. I'll talk more about this one in a little bit. Customers rate us at 66%, which is about 10% lower than what we're actually seeing, and I'll address that here in just a little bit. Where the industry standard is 60% on that. And then bus cleanliness, 61%. Industry standard is about 58% on that. Importance ranking. Our customers rated what they feel is the most important factors, and this moved a little bit on us this time. Frequency of routes took over the #1 slot, and as you can see, it's a very close vote there for the top three. Very small print there, I apologize for that. Hours of operation followed that, and then followed directly behind that is the bus arrives on time. And this is just a little graph of importance issues and how our customers are feel. Safety on the bus, once again, is up top. Fair price, once again, we're comfortable with that. Bus cleanliness, now we're on the lower tier. Bus cleanliness down there. And then areas of improvement, frequency, hours of operation, on-time performance, route coverage, and travel time. Those are the ones that they rated as the ones that they feel that we need to do some more work on. Frequency of service compared to the last few waves. You can see we took a little dip last survey in the fall of last year. We rebounded a little bit back up there. We're at 71%, and we also put that industry standard out there at about 68%. So we're above the average, but our high at one point was 82% out there, and we had the Mission Max and the changes and all that. So we have been increasing the frequency on our major core routes. So I think that's a factor, and it's starting to build back up as we continue to do that as well. Satisfaction, availability. The buses operate on time, then I need them early, late evening. We're still, above the industry standard, but they still don't see us as quite as high as what they did in future surveys. But we really didn't change our service times this session. So it's just sometimes it's just a different group of people that are taking the survey as we previously. But we didn't have any major service changes during this survey segment. And this is back to the on-time performance that I talked about before. Our perception of what our customers see as our on-time performance compared to what we actually are performing. For this last wave, we were at 76% on time. Our customers believe that it's about 66%. So then those are things that we need to work on as an agency and find out why they have that perception that we're that late there. We are going to do some onboard information sessions and get out there and let them know, posting what our on-time performance is, to let them know where we're at and let them know the things that we're doing to improve. We look at our markup, each and every markup for the routes that have on-time performance issues, and we address those with time adjustments and the line adjustments and everything that we can to try to get them back on track. We have ORCAD, which is a GPS system out there that's tracking our time points at every single location. So we're able to see where they lag at and where they're getting there early and stuff, where we can adjust those so we can make a seamless route that doesn't have the interruptions, and we can get there as quickly and as on time as we can. Bus satisfaction continues to stay right at that same level. We haven't changed that much. This rate did go up a little bit from the last one and a little bit from that before. So, the overall input from our customers is showing that they do believe that there has been some changes. And then satisfaction with travel time, once again, went down a little bit. Previous round, this time it's gone back up a little bit. So, we have looked at that and looked at that as we're doing our markups and our scheduling of our routes as well. Overall, our customers' impression has went up quite a bit from the last time. We're up to 81%. And, service quality, we had some questions in there, gotten better. Some said it stayed the same at 13%. But overall, our customers believe that our service has gotten better since our last survey that's went out there. Switch gears over to paratransit. Paratransit is really loved by our customers. We really have some high rankings from our paratransit side of the house. I think we do a good job out there. It is a growing effort, and that, with the traffic and the growing customer base, that is a continuing efforts for us to keep it on time. So, most satisfied with feeling safe on board the vehicle, 97%. It's kind of all the way through here, 97%. We have very good ratings there. Drivers being very helpful, 97%. Drivers being friendly, 97%. Scheduling a trip on time when I need to travel, 97%. And then their valuable vehicle cleanliness, once again, at 97%. So as our surveyors let us know, we're up there in the range of the Costco's and the major corporations on their customer service rankings here. So our customers are very, very happy with what we're doing there. There are some things that, like I said before, calls being answered properly. Our call center is mixed in with our regular call center for all of our bus complaints and compliments and all that. So our agents are answering the same phone lines that to make those reservations for paratransit. So there is a wait time. We are working on a new automated system, an IVR. We do have it in there for some portions of it, but the automated answering portion, we're still working with our vendor. It's a new product for us, and we're still working with our vendor to get that up and running. That would allow our customers to talk directly to the IVR and not have to have an intervention with a customer service agent on those regular trips that they make on a daily basis. And then vehicles arriving on time, once again, with the growth and the traffics in the city and all that, that is a continuing effort. We have made a change in our scheduling department. We have a new paratransit scheduler, and we've brought in our Trapeze software group to work on some improvements on our software and training for our new employee as well. Customer report rating, vehicle arrive on time, by far the top two, along with the safety of the vehicle. And we have a very good performance record on our safety side of the house on paratransit as well. Satisfaction with pickup time and travel. Vehicle gets to me in a reasonable amount of time. It is coming down a little bit, and like I said, we are working to bring in some more employees to fill in some more out there on the streets where there is more availability of vans to do that. Satisfaction with safety. Once again, we're up there at the very top on all these. They feel very safe and comfortable with our drivers. My drivers secure them and load them properly, and we have very few incidents in those areas. And then with them, the overall satisfaction is 82%, or 92%. Excuse me, short of myself. 92%, and we continue to reach out to them. We have newsletters that go out to them, and advise them on things with the flyers on the buses. So we try to keep in contact with our side of the house. We also do quarterly bus or paratransit operator meetings, safety meetings, training meetings, and that to make sure that we keep them up to speed and up to date with those efforts too. So overall, we'll meet as an agency to address our recommendations from our contractor that did the survey. We're scheduled to go back out in October for our next round, and we may be looking to incorporate this with more of the customer outreach efforts rather than just regular survey questions this next time, as we look to enhance the service changes coming up. Any questions?
Congressman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So in October, you'll reach out to both groups, the paratransit as well as the
Yep.
standard.
Yes, we may get streetcar up by then. We're trying to get it in 2020. It may be in October. We'll be able to get it in there too.
Mm-hmm. And so these are totally separate. So the on-time impression of the standard bus service customers is reported here separately from the paratransit.
Yes, we separate each one by their own classification.
Thank you.
Councilman,
Yes, thank you. Nice presentation. How long have we been doing these surveys?
Since 2015.
2015.
We started with the bus first. I think we did. We're on version 7 for the fixed route side. We're on version 3 for the paratransit. So they've done 4 more sessions than what the paratransit has. So
Would it be possible to get all that historical information?
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to see what that looks like. The second question is, I think it's page 7, your demographics, if you could go back to that. Try
5.
Wait. The one with the age profile.
Yeah, that's on page 5.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. It's not what I expected. The 50 to 65 range, we got people going to be retiring here soon, and that's I'm curious to see how that has been shifting, primarily with that, and what kind of marketing efforts are we making to millennials and so forth to try and encourage the usage on that level, so that we need a bigger bubble at younger ages to be moving through the system as they get old. Okay, cool, thank you. I'd like to see that historical data if we could. Thank you.
2 questions. Well, on the demographics, I noticed that only 11% of the riders are Hispanic, which strikes me as a very low number given the population in the county. Do you all have any idea what that represents, or what we might do to increase that participation?
We have not drilled down into the lower levels yet, and I'll, like Mr. Schuster said, I believe if you look across, it may be the routes that were surveyed at that time too. It might be the different neighborhoods. So we have to look at all those facts where we actually were doing the survey. And it is a random sampling, so we are out throughout the whole system. But I would like to see what areas it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a question about outreach, in terms of communication in the Spanish language and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm not criticizing, I'm just curious and wondering what that represents, I guess. So.
And we do, all of our communications are English and Spanish. Everything we do on our vehicles is local.
Very, very good. My other question was, and I think I asked this the last time you gave the report, as far as the regular bus service, you're only interviewing riders.
Correct.
Is there any plan to try and reach the public that's not riding a bus? Because, for example, the question about coverage is going to be skewed because the people riding the bus obviously have reasonable access, from their home or from their work to get on the bus, whereas the people who aren't riding the bus may not be riding because of coverage. And so that particular question seems like it's skewed if you're not interviewing members of the public who are not riding the bus,
I can answer part of that, and then Greg, if you want to fill in. Absolutely, this voice of the customer provides valuable data in what we're doing well and some opportunities for improvement to our overall service. We would like to not only include the streetcar in the voice of the customer survey instrument, but also survey customers or citizens throughout Hillsborough County in 2 general categories. One category is those who either used to take public transportation in recent history, and then twofold, are there particular target areas where we could identify potential choice riders and or other folks who might not pop up in that used to be customer category. So those are things that us as staff are very focused on, especially as we look to expand significantly our service footprint those types of market research tools, and data is going to be absolutely critical. So more to come. Wish I had more on that, but that's one thing of value of these particular surveys, though, is they can kind of point you in those two particular directions. So,
Yeah, I mean, the fact you're cognizant of the fact that you're not reaching those people in the current survey is the first step. So if there are things you can be doing, that would be helpful.
Yeah, when we rolled it out, there was a two-phase approach. One was voice of the customer, and the other was voice of the community. So we did have those two different segments out there that we wanted to survey and find out the information from. So voice of the customer fell on the opposite side of the house after Marco left, so we've been taking it over since then. But there is outreach for the community as well that they plan on doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about how the survey is conducted? Yeah.
On the fixed route side of the house, they do every fifth customer that boards a bus. It doesn't matter if they're in a group or not, it's still every fifth one. They'll try not to interview the group. They'll go to the next 5 and they'll go on down. And then they develop the pattern of where they're going to do the survey across the entire system, so that we're not subject to one area or not. And then they start surveying one-on-one, and it takes about 10 minutes, I think.
The survey takes about 7 minutes, and we go based on your ridership data. So depending on how much ridership you have on a specific route will determine how many surveys we need on that route. And they're done at all different times of the day, all different days of the week.
So it's a person, it's an actual human asking the questions, that you're not just handing out the...
No, they
Yeah.
have a tablet and they're actually asking the questions and taking the information back as they do it.
Right, and they are bilingual, or they can handle...
This survey is not bilingual, it is only done in English.
Uh-huh.
We could certainly add that piece the next time.
So that might be part of why the Hispanic is reported a little low then?
Possibly, but...
Well, what happens when you have a only Spanish-speaking person that you selected for an interview? Do you go to the next person?
If they don't want to take the survey, that's correct.
Right, but if they're not
Yes.
bilingual, then there's no way to conduct the survey if they don't
It
speak
is only an
English.
English
Okay.
survey here in Tampa.
So that can certainly
Right.
explain that.
Right,
Right.
we do conduct Spanish speaking in other agencies, so we could do that easily.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Quick question for me. I noticed on page 12, you made mention that there was no change. However, there is a perception of change. For example, we are higher than the industry average at 71%, and we came in at 77%. But there's a perception that we aren't as high as we were before, but even though there was no change. Do you know what would cause that? Or next steps we'll take in order to make it very much known that there wasn't a change and here's the information we have at that time? Is that the type of question? I just don't know.
Yeah, and we have planned a marketing campaign to get out there and get, drill down to these different layers. We just got this back a month ago. We just brought it to you, so we haven't had time to actually get out there and do our campaigns yet. But that is definitely planned, that we are going to do some outreach out with our customers with the results of this survey.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Bracken? Thank you. very
Thank you.
much.
Excellent work. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question from, I'm not really sure who to direct it to. One of my first meetings, there were some drivers here who were complaining about operational issues with the buses, and not necessarily safety shield type thing, but the brakes and being able to smell fumes and so forth. As one being very, very sensitive to car exhaust, I was just wondering, what are we doing to monitor, fix? What's the current feel by the drivers now?
Good morning, Deputy Chief of Minneapolis Police Scott Greenville. So what we did was we identified the 2009, 2010 fleets with the biggest culprits of fumes. So what we've done every weekend, we do manual regenerations. So when they're on the road, the vehicle can't do the regeneration because the throttle is always working. So what we did was we put the 2009, 2010 fleets each weekend, and we do manual regenerations, which seem to be a lot better now since we've decided doing it. As far as the brakes, we do brake inspections every single PM with a computer as they pass it, so we've never had any brake issues.
Now I'm curious, what's the regeneration?
So each diesel engine has like it looks like a boiler system where it has a DPF, a diesel particulate filter, and when the NOx become a certain height, it adds urea in it and it burns the particulate matter, and so it doesn't, no exhaust comes out of that.
Oh.
So normally the computer would do that, but on the road, the duty cycles, it won't be able to do that.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.